The 7th event of the GRIDLIFE Touring Cup, all part of the Midsummer Meet here at Mid-Ohio. Each event featuring 4 races. It is time for that 4th and final race. And, folks, just to make things interesting, a little bit of rain starting to move in, and it is going to make this race absolutely fascinating. We've had 3 great races unfold already, and an absolutely stunning top 10 shootout. It's been spectacular stuff. This should be even better. And one of the stories is what's unfolding in terms of the points for the weekend winner and the weekend top 3. Hi, everybody. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Alex Moss. He was just out a little bit ago in time attack. I don't know if you had to deal with much of this rain, but it's starting to pick up just a little bit. That, of course, right now is the big story.
Yeah, the rain's definitely going to shake things up. For me, fortunately, it stayed dry. I probably wouldn't have gone out if it had been raining for me. But yeah, the rain's going to definitely shake things up. Those guys on street tires are going to run their street tires. The guys on the race slicks have a decision to make. Do they run their slicks, or do they run the wet weather tires that most of them should have brought with them?
Well, if I'm watching this right now, I'm saying wets. I would think that would be the other smart move in this case.
I would agree with you. I know that the ASM team also all agrees with you because they will all be on wets.
All right, well, that's going to be interesting to see. Now, let's get to this thing. Obviously, there's 4 races on a weekend, and the points you score in each race obviously goes toward the season championship. Well, we've talked about it. One of the most prestigious things in this series, in the GRIDLIFE Touring Cup, is the weekend champion, if you will. And right now, I don't know that it's ever been this close. I mean, between the first 2 at least.
Yep. So Eric Catil is sitting in first place with 64 points right now, with Tomo Goman right behind him, just 1 point behind with 63. In fourth, we've got Swenson on 50, and Aaron Lichty is just a point behind Jeremy Swenson as well with 50 points.
Yeah, really, really close. And you see the cars now starting to make their way out. Now, here's a building story here. Remember the inversion, folks, that we had talked about. The top 11 were inverted after Hertel's issue on the last lap when he was running 11th. A young man named Matan Rosenberg, who, if you watch the first race on the opening lap, pulled off on the back straight with a broken hub, right? Well, he ended up in 11th. He's on pole. Youngest driver to ever sit on pole in a GRIDLIFE Touring Cup race at 17. Built the car out of a Spec Miata himself. He went to the Blackhawk Driver Cup, or comp school. Then went and ran at Autobahn and ran at Gingerman. This is only his 3rd race. It's the first race his dad's been able to come and watch. The broken hub he had, the guys, Broden at Bro Parts, loaned him a hub. His dad helped him put it together, and he ends up on pole. I mean,
amazing.
What a cool story, huh?
Amazing, yeah. And I know that one of our guys, Zach Lavoie, was racing with him pretty hard in race 1 right before that hub broke.
Yep.
And was seriously impressed with how well he was driving and at such a young age.
Yeah, he started doing HPDE stuff at 14. And when he turned 16, they asked him to be an instructor. So obviously they realized, yeah, kid's got some skills here.
Yeah.
And he was showing it here. So let's run through that starting lineup. Front row is Matan Rosenberg, joined by Jake Price. Then it'll be in row 2, the 13 of Ryan Upham and the 212 of Andy Smedegard. Good driver. Be interesting to see him up in the sharp end of things. Starting in the 5th spot, the 27 of Scott McGee in 6th. The guy who at one point moved to the lead in the points championship. He's now 2nd by 1 point. That's another big story. Eric Catil in the number 82. He's already had a couple of wins this weekend. In the 7th starting spot is number 7, Luke McGrew. Starting in the 8th spot is number 19, Aaron Lichty, who is now back in the point lead by 1. Then we move to the 9th starting spot, the Thundering Corvette of Jeremy Swenson. He's 3rd in the points, 3 back. Yes, the top 3 in points now. They came in 9. After a couple races, it was 6. Now it's 4. It couldn't be any closer. Rounding out the top 10, the number 94 of Tom O'Gorman, who I've just from previous experience know he's really good in the wet, so that should be fun. Then it is going to be in 11th, the guy who won the 3rd race, the 61 of DJ Alessandrini. This is a home track. He should be fun to watch here. Starting 12th, the 101 of Gary Wimble. Starting in the 13th spot, the 42, the 3rd of the ASM cars, Zach Lavoie. Starting in the 14th spot, the very fast number 14 of Emil Tabb. See what he's going to be able to do. Starting 15th is the 92 of Marcus Luttrell. 16th, the 187 of Chris Adams. Starting 17th, the number 3 of Eric Meadows. Starting 18th, the number 33 of Justin Lee. Starting in the 19th spot, It's the 28 of Steve Pruden starting 20th, rounding out the 10th row. The 213 of Scott Robertson starting 21st. The 159 of Joshua Rubenstein starting 22nd. The 24 of Dustin Pardee starting 23rd. The 18 of Colton Wade starting 24th. The 261 of Brad Kosiba starting in the 25th spot. The 106 of Michael Kritikos starting 26th. The 6 of Ryan Christoph. 27th, the 515 of Thomas Moss. 28th, the 898 of Brian DeFries. 29th, the 182 of Max Lupfer. Starting 30th, and the hard luck guy here this weekend as the pace car moves in, the 34 of Austin Hertel. Starting 31st, the 57 of Craig Moulton. 32nd, Wesley Penn, who got his first points at the first race of this event here. So a great run for Wesley. Starting 33rd, the 777 of Ron Solomon. Starting 34th, the 46 of Team Griffin. It'll be Riley Griffin driving. Starting 35th, the 184 of Eric Jensen. 36th, the 75 of Adam Jabay. And 37th, the 188 of Daniel Howard. That is the starting lineup here. And I'm intrigued here to see, we might be in these conditions. Looks like they might be, well, no, now they are starting to form up. I thought they might be going with a single file start, but they are starting to form up 2 by 2. And for Matan Rosenberg, he had punctured a tire. He was trying to find a new set of tires, which he did, but now the rain moved in. I don't know if he's got wets, so that's going to be interesting to see, but he's under some pressure.
Yeah, it looks like we've already seen 2 cars leave the field. I saw Upham dive into the pits at the end of that formation lap, and it looks like Jake Price has gone in as well.
All right, here we go. Let's see what happens as we're coming to the green. 15 minutes of racing for the 4th race. Looks like a late green. I think they waved him off. And I think it's because we had the top 6 rows looking pretty good, and then 7th on back, we're nowhere near close.
Yeah, it could be. It could also be just the communicate or the fact that those cars left the field, and that left the grid not really in 2 by 2s. It left the field in a state where we have 1 car on the front row and then 2 cars on the second row. So they may need to reform that group and come around for another pace lap. So as you see them coming around, they're back to single file now, and I expect that what we'll see is as they get towards the start line again, they'll form up 2 by 2. Hopefully we'll see the two cars in each row as they take the green flag.
Well, the interesting thing here is a lot of times when it's the scheduled start and they wave it off, the clock would start. Here they haven't done that. So I like that. At least, you know, these are short enough races. So if you do a lap in these conditions in particular, whoops, somebody just a little wide there. It's the 184.
It looks like Jensen went off there on the formation lap. So I know Mid-Ohio has a reputation for being incredibly slick in the wet.
It does. It is a very tricky place. So I'm really not surprised. Remember, Eric had that great run going, and then the car broke over between turns 8 and 9. So they did a nice job in the thrash to get him together. He's starting well back in the order, as I said, in 35th. But that car's got pace. So it'll be interesting to see. But it all depends on the kind of grip in the tires that he has at this stage.
But yeah, it looks like Jeremy Swenson has decided that he does not want to take the start as well, and he's left the field here.
That's interesting because we would have thought that with those street tires that he could have been fairly effective. And if the rain lets up a little bit, which it is a possibility it won't, certainly, that he could have been a factor here because that's a heavy car. And interestingly, sometimes in the wet, the heavier cars are the ones that have even more success, especially if you can soften the suspension up and get that weight to roll over onto those outside loaded tires.
Yeah. My guess is that he's kind of looked at the weekend points. He'll know where he is. He really needed a win and for both Tom O'Gorman and Eric Coutil to be 11th or lower to have a chance at a win for the weekend. The way the season points work, you drop your worst races, so it doesn't matter too much if he misses a race.
That's a good point. We haven't talked about that, have we? That you get to drop. Is it just the one?
No, there's a number of drops that you get depending on the number of races there are in a season.
Okay.
So yeah, he's probably looking at that and saying, hey, I don't want to risk my equipment on this notoriously tough track. I don't really have a chance for the win over the weekend, and a 0 doesn't hurt me in the season. So why risk it? Why not, play the long game a little bit, be smart, and save it for another day.
Makes good sense. Look at that rain coming down as this time we'll see, do they go green? Field looks a little bit better here. Looking at that start stand, are we going to see the green flag fly? We do! We're green! And a huge launch right away. Jake Price. And was that Coutil threading the needle there?
Coutil's up in front now, and it looks like DJ was coming around on the inside there.
Yeah, Coutil came from 6th. Goes right out to the rain line. Smart move. You can see so does O'Gorman. O'Gorman coming up from 10th, already up into 3rd. Smedegaard right behind him in 4th. Ooh, lots of slides. And O'Gorman down to the inside, jumps into the 2nd spot. And you can tell the drivers that have been around this track in the wet before, driving the very bizarre to many looking lines. That's the rain line. Look at O'Gorman working the outside of Coutil as they come through 8. Coutil started to drift over. Now O'Gorman in a power slide, drops the rears into the gravel. Does he get through it? He does. Now he's got to keep it moving. He gets that done, but he has lost a ton of track position here. And Coutil finds himself with a little bit of breathing room. Lichty slots into 2nd.
Yeah, and that just goes to show just how tricky conditions are here. To take out a driver as experienced at this track as Tom, and to force him into that mistake really shows the difficulty.
It does. And DJ Alessandrini, who, of course, won, so he starts in 11th. He's up into the 2nd spot, although I think Lichty just went by him around the outside. That was a beautiful move. Now does DJ try and come down the inside? Nope. And I think this is going to be an interesting battle. DJ, that front-wheel drive car, and he knows this track incredibly well, but the Cayman, what we were talking about, a bit heavier with great balance, and it can generate a bit of stick. Somebody's pulled off on the first lap there over in the unused club chicane.
Yeah, and right now things are looking good for Eric Coutil. He's out in 1st. His only real competitor is Tom, who he just has to beat today to get the win out for the weekend. And Tom looks like he's back down in 5th or 6th now. 7th place.
Look at the run Lichty got here, using the power coming out of the keyhole. Boy, but right at the end of the straight, when they both get up on the pipe, Coutil able to scoot by just a little bit, and it looks like DJ's going to get back around Lichty. Now, Lichty's going to try and park it and use that rain line, and did so beautifully. And you can see the grip out there. Now DJ should have that rain line, and Lichty trying to get as close to it as he could without getting into a DJ. That was an interesting little moment there. And they've opened up a pretty handy little margin right now over Smedegaard.
That looks like Tom's back up to 4th.
Is it
Tom's
really?
really carving back through the field here. So.
It sure is. Wow, what a recovery he's put together.
Oh, and Eric Coutil's gone
off, and I don't know, is he going to get through? No! Oh my, what a development for Eric Coutil. Won both of the opening races from pole. Oh, that is just a gut check for Eric right now.
And what that really means now is if Tom can just hold station, he will win for the weekend. He'll win the weekend points.
So nice job there. So DJ going for a 2nd straight win. Then it's Lichty, your overall season point leader. And there is O'Gorman. Yeah, what a recovery drive by Tomo.
Yeah, and he's past now Lichty for 2nd, and
DJ, did he save that?
He hung onto that impressively.
Oh my, that was one of the most spectacular saves. And O'Gorman has the back end rotate around and hangs on to it. Well, if anybody thinks these guys in the wet weren't going to go for it, they were completely mistaken. This is spectacular stuff.
Yeah, someone needs to tell these guys there's no style points today. It's all about the finish place, but looks like they want those bonus points anyway.
And the rain is just pummeling down right now. So even if you're on wets, this is going to be really iffy stuff. And let's see what happens here. O'Gorman, big head of steam. But right here, DJ's car really comes alive as well. And you don't want to overshoot into 4 because, believe me, you may have gotten out of that gravel trap over at the exit in 9. Doesn't happen so easily here in China Beach. But look at the grip around the outside. O'Gorman used it. Now DJ's going to have it. And O'Gorman Did they touch, or did Tom save it before they tapped each other?
I don't think they touched.
And then he dives to the inside. This is spectacular, Alex.
Yeah, I think every corner right now is up high on your commitment meter level. Every single one.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I don't know if they didn't touch, I don't know how Tom was able to save it, other than the fact that he's just an immensely talented driver, but that was hugely close. And there, that is just a sad thing to see, is Coutil parked in that gravel trap.
Yeah, nobody wants to see that. None of the competitors will want to see that either. But, you know, it's exact same spot that Tom went off.
Yeah.
Tom's spot, taking, you know, two of those very experienced drivers at this racetrack out. Such difficult conditions here.
Well, and that's one of the things when you're driving the rain line and you're ramping the outside of the corner, you had better get it right, because if you do skate off, you don't have, if you're on the normal line where you can slide a little bit and catch it, there's nothing there. We have a yellow, don't we?
Yeah, full course caution, it looks like.
All right. And I wonder if it's because of Coutil. If
may
somebody
be.
goes off, they could get to him.
Yeah, I mean, if it's always one of those things. If one car gets there, a second car can get there, right? So probably the smart thing to go and try and recover that car. With the conditions as well, they would not be happy doing a tow under a local yellow.
Yes, I would agree completely. It's one thing when you got drivers of this caliber that on a dry track and they can actually have a little bit of, you know, certainly control out there and be able to get through it. In the wet, you just never know what's going to happen. And the car that pulled off in the club chicane there started to move again, and then looks like it stopped. So
yeah, it looked like he was going to try and rejoin the field while they're under the pace car. He might be waiting to catch the back of the field rather than get into the mix in the middle. One of the problems that drivers are going to have in this and are having is windshield fogging up and getting visibility issues, not just from the rain, but from fogging on the windshield as well.
That's a really good point. Visibility in the wet is at a premium anyway, and then you start to get a fog windshield. It becomes hugely problematic here. And I'll tell you, the guy who's going to benefit from this is Aaron Lichty and Luke McGrew, who had dropped about 7 to 8 seconds behind that lead duo. And under this caution, obviously, that gap will just evaporate here. And assuming we get back to green, we'll have to see whether this time they're able to stick with them a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully we get that car recovered and get them back to green for this race, because this is exciting.
It is, and I'll tell you, in these conditions, and this is why I keep talking about, you know, the people that say to me, well, I'd be interested in corner working, but I don't want to do it in the wet. Watching a race from that best seat in the house in the wet is just spectacular stuff.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, and they do have the best seat in the house because they have to. They have to be able to see the track.
Yep, exactly, and they provide, you know, and again, you're part of it. You're part of the race with the blue flag and the yellows and the like. It's really cool stuff here. And they got Coutil moved. And I would think, because he never hit anything, he could restart and get going. Obviously, he's going to be down a lap or two.
Yeah.
But at least he'll be able to continue. And Matan Rosenberg, you know, he didn't force the issue. He hasn't made any mistakes. When faster guys came up, and, you know, that could be a very smart thing, is to say, all right, you know, I haven't run here before. I've certainly never raced here in the wet.
Mm-hmm.
This is a diabolical place. I've heard about it. I'm going to let the faster guys go by. Then I'm going to follow them around and try and learn a little bit, learn some tricks. And there is Coutil.
Yeah, I think for Rosenberg, we saw when that flag went green, that car just did not get going.
Yeah.
I think it had. I'm not sure he had the best tires for the conditions.
Yep.
And he just kind of got swamped on the straight.
Yeah, he truly did.
And it looks like we're going to restart here.
There we go. Back to green as Coutil's out. So, O'Gorman is now right back onto the 6 of DJ Alessandrini, but now Lichty is right there. McGrew is right there. And how about Gimbel up into 5th? Great run for him.
Yeah, DJ really wrestling that car right now. It looks like Tom's got a run on him.
Yeah, he ran a little wide, and then he got the edge of that curb, and it upset the car. And Tom on the outside here, you would think.
I think he will drive around him here. But
I would think, because you can almost see that
Yep.
grip line around the outside. Here he goes. Ramps the corner, gets the hammer down a little bit sooner. Ooh, hit a puddle, and that car just skated. and that's going to let DJ get back into it a little bit. Now DJ's the one getting that face full of spray, though.
Yep, and as we saw when they were coming into turn 2, we couldn't see the cars.
Yes.
And the drivers are having to deal with that condition, trying to drive incredibly quickly in difficult conditions. Yeah, and just impressive what these guys are able to do.
Yeah, look at the margin they've opened up already over Lichty, then McGrew, and then Gimbel. And how about Zach Lavoie up into the 6th spot right now, having a really strong run?
That's fantastic for him. I know his mom's watching and his wife is watching, and they'll both be very pleased to see that.
And let's see now if DJ, both of these guys so experienced on this track, you see them cutting through, making sure they go rain line to rain line. Here's where Tom had a little bit too much speed in that opening lap. Boy, he nailed it that time.
Yeah, I think
Never.
wow, these guys have just checked out.
They have.
That's amazing.
And never has the term floating speed through a corner been more apropos, huh?
Yeah, they are literally floating speed through these turns. Just see the amount of water coming off the tires.
Oh, it's just pumping through those the channels in those tires, and running that really wide arc all the way through the carousel and onto the front straight. As you can see, here's the white flag flies. Last lap.
I imagine they're having an absolute ball out there, but I also imagine they're relieved to see that flag come out.
Oh, you bet they are. You bet they are. And one thing, racers in these conditions, you know, you respect the guys, they're good friends, but you use every tool you can. And I know there were some racers told me at various tracks when they see a seam in the pavement where the water puddles, they make sure they run, if they're in front of a guy, they make sure and put their tires right on top of it.
Sure.
Because that means more water in his face.
Yeah.
So they will do everything they can. And, boy, that margin they have opened up right now is pretty substantial in just 2 laps, up to 7 seconds. And O'Gorman looking really strong here. He's got that little bit of a lead built up. You just want to make sure here, brake a little earlier. Last lap, make sure no mistakes. Tomo, just beautiful. DJ staying with him.
Yeah, the one thing, the rain line's going right around the outside of the edge. That's where the grip is on this track when it's wet. And on a lot of tracks when it's wet, it's like that. But it takes that commitment factor because you have no margin. If you leave that line, you're in the grass and you're done. So whereas a normal racing line, you have a little bit of wiggle room in the dry.
That's exactly right. And this is where, you know, Tom, Mason, Ohio, you know, DJ from Cleveland, raced here a lot. Track knowledge on this track, particularly in the wet, is huge.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Tomo, last time through 11. Ooh, little twitch there, held on to it. Up into the carousel one final time.
Still pushing, doesn't know how to not push, does he?
Well, when you're, you know, sometimes when you're in the zone, when you slow down, then you start to make little mistakes. And he just likes the groove he's in, quite literally right now. Here he comes onto the front straight after 3 straight seconds. He finishes with a win and the weekend championship. Tom O'Gorman, ASM, Andy Smedegaard Motorsports, finishing up top. But DJ, what a run he put in, Alessandrini did, and gets a second place finish, another podium. Look at the drag race at the line here, and Lichty will get that. And that should actually open up his lead in the season championship points. And look at he's down a couple of laps, but a nice run there at the end as well by Eric Coutil once he got back on track. But Gimbel, what a fabulous run for him to bring it home with a top 5.
Yeah, great work for all those guys. Man, it was nice to see Eric Coutil take the finish. Oh, and there's Rosenberg off track. Right at the end there. Well,
he had done, I mean, his dad's here watching. He had done the really smart thing with not having a lot of track knowledge in the wet, certainly, is just let the fast guys go, try and learn from them. Ran a little wide there, but still doing a nice job. Zach Lavoie up into 6th, Christoph in 7th, Robertson in 8th, Lee in 9th, and Andrew Work brings it home and rounds out the top 10. Here's a look at the 188 of Howard. And nice to see right here Riley Griffin in that Turner BMW. They've really been struggling with stuff, and he's going to bring it home here in 15th. So after a really difficult weekend for them, what a great way to wrap things up.
Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. It's and there's Tom O'Gorman, who is the race winner, and you know, still going for those style points.
He is having some fun out there as well. Let's take a look at replays of some of the highlights of this one, and there were plenty. Here's at the start. Look at O'Gorman, a big twitch as he went around the outside of Lichty. Both he and Coutil driving the perfect rain line around there. But then watch here, O'Gorman tried to float a little bit of speed around the outside. Right there you can see got wide, dropped that rear, then dropped it again. But here was the difference, is he got that hammer down and had the angle right and skipped across and was able to rejoin. And he came back in a hurry. But for Coutil on the next lap, not so lucky.
No, Coutil managed to basically do the same thing, trying to take that outside line, dropped a wheel off that sucked him into the gravel, and he wasn't able to keep the car moving to get across that gravel beach and back onto the grass.
And it looked to me, as he went to turn, there was a little twitch, and then the car straightened out, and you know he was turning. He had nothing left and just went straight off here. And then O'Gorman's comeback drive. Look at this save, first of all, by DJ, and that had everybody cheering. Then watch behind him, O'Gorman pops into view. Boom!
Not to be outdone.
Sideways here, saves it, straightens it up, and continues on. Then here was the pass for the lead. Ooh, actually this wasn't the pass for the lead. That's when he got, they did not touch.
I don't think they touched, no.
Wow.
Amazing.
Then he dove to the inside again, but DJ had the fast rain line. Tom recognized it immediately and just went back, tucked in behind him, and got himself back into position. And then we had the full course caution, and then on the restart, Tomo just came alive and was able to get through and brings it home for the win. But just a remarkable race. Just want to also say a nice run by the 777 of Ron Solomon, up into 12th. Dan Howard up into 13th. Rosenberg, even with that off, 14th on his first rain race. Has to be pretty pleased with that. And again, Riley Griffin and his dad Bob, who ran yesterday for Team Griffin, doing a nice job up into 15th. Rubenstein, Joshua Rubenstein into 16th. Eric Meadows, good drive, into 17th. Schmedegaard, some issues, dropped back into the 18th spot. How about this? From near dead last, Emil Tab up into 19th. That's a point, but he did it, and you know he was dealing with a lot of spray out there, and a nice run for him. And then completing the top 20, Eric Coutil.
Perfect.
So we have had, folks, about every different type of development during these 4 races here this weekend as you can have. The yellow early in the first race that brought an early conclusion to the race, or under caution anyway. Then that absolutely spectacular second race. The shootout was awesome. The third race was, great battling and the like. Wasn't quite as fierce as that second race, but great stuff. And then this rain and all the developments in race 4. Folks, if you haven't been entertained by GRIDLIFE Touring Cup here this weekend, you've been napping or something. This has been just off the hook, hasn't it?
It has. I think we had every bit of drama we could have had this weekend, and it's, just great to see. Overall, great racing by everybody, very few incidents, and, wonderful weekend.
Yeah, that's a very big part of it, relatively clean. Just in that first race, had that first little issue. And then it cleaned up and very little contact. Everybody was able to really put together one heck of a run. And if you've been watching the stream here, we've been showing you the schedule. Lots more racing of GRIDLIFE Touring Cup to come this season. Of course, all part of the wonderful events that GRIDLIFE puts on that include the time attack that everybody has been enjoying and the like. And we certainly encourage you, go to the website, take a look at the schedule, and make sure that you come out. I think there's a big festival coming. One of the big festivals back at Gingerman.
In 2 weeks, we're going to be at Heartland Park in Topeka for another race. And then in mid-September, we will be having the Midwest Festival, the big homecoming to Gingerman Raceway in Michigan.
And also, we'll be at Road America during the course of this season. That one's going to be absolutely phenomenal at what I call America's Nürburgring.
Yes.
So much yet to come. I'll tell you what, though, it's going to be tough to beat what we've seen here this weekend. And, Alex, you made it an absolute pleasure, my friend. Really enjoyed it. And, again, want to give a big shout-out to Kyle Heyer, who had an opportunity to call some pro racing this weekend. So wonderful for him. Glad he got that opportunity. It was a delight for him to give me a call to come in and to help cover for this weekend. Just keeping the chair warm for you, my friend. It's been absolutely great. So on behalf of everybody here at Grid Life, on behalf of our stream crew, and on behalf of Alex Moss, I'm Greg Creamer. It has been a treat. Hope to be able to do this again sometime. It's been a joy. Take care, everybody.